On the Wake Up Radio presents The Center with your host, DC Radical One.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Elijah Lewis. I'm coming from you at the Springfield Town Center in Springfield, Virginia for the Fall Expo. But I want to take a minute to tell you about my book, Your Jewels Are in Your Journey, Life Lessons to Get You Out to Yourself. This book is about giving us the tools we need to be our optimal self as we go about our journey. I tell everybody is that we're all on a journey, so on that journey we learn that life lessons are jewels, the people that we connect with to be better and inspire us along the way are jewels, and above all, you find out that you yourself are a jewel. Because if you don't know who you are, it's hard to know where you're going. So if you're interested in learning more about me and my book or my motivational speaking, I speak on topics such as freedom from life's addictions, the reality of your vision, and many other topics. So if you want more information, go to my website, www.elijahlewis.org. You can get your copies, book me for motivational speaking, and above all, see where the journey takes you. And at the end of the day, may you find many jewels on your journey and continue to be the jewel that you are. Thank you.
Now, we're going to go and talk about AIPAC. What is AIPAC? The American Israel Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC. What does AIPAC do? AIPAC is the gangster with a whole lot of money that says, I'm gonna buy you and pay you money, and you're gonna make decisions that I want you to make. You're gonna do as I tell you, because I got my hands in your pockets. And they attached to people like Jeffrey Epstein, who take videos of the people that are supposed to be our representatives, and as they take those videos, they hold them hostage and say, vote as I tell you to vote. Do as I tell you to do.
Has anybody watched the videos of the kind of murder that they're doing to the Palestinians? Raise your hand if you've seen any of the videos. Raise them high so I can really see. Alright, so then y'all will know. People who haven't seen it, it's gonna sound like I'm exaggerating. I need you all to confirm what I'm saying is true, that the ones that have seen it. I'm black. I don't even like Arabs. I'm keep it real. I mean, I have a history as an African with the Arabs. I ain't gonna lie, man. Arab or no Arab, man, what they doing, yo, it's men walking around. I ain't never seen that like that, be real. They're holding their child, full body, and the body is jet black, burnt, and it doesn't have a head. And he's like screaming and crying for his child. Who's seen the stuff that I'm talking about? So many things. They have children walking around with their face, half this part of their face is just hanging like to here. It's like, I can't describe it. It's like the face is off. And it's like one half of their face is there and the other half of their face not there. And the child is sitting there trying to, they can't scream because they don't have, I don't know. You see burnt children, like they go in and burn them, and you go and they're showing the people there's just nothing but, you can tell us, you almost think it was like an animal, but you can see the features of a child. Right. The kind of genocide, like they're playing games where they tell them, come here for food, and when they come there for food, they start picking them off and shoot them and kill them. But they're filming it, so if you get on the channels to see the stuff, it's so horrific. I'm trying to think. It will remind you, we've seen the lynchings of our ancestors, right? Without sanctuary. Imagine taking without sanctuary and actually seeing it while it's happening, while they're lynching somebody. But not just the one person in the picture, the whole book at the same time on the same day.
We looked in the past, 1972. I was born in 1973. I'm almost 50 years old. I'll be 50 in December. A year before I got here, they must have known I was coming. They said, let's get this thing out here now before you get here. They did what's called the Gay Rights Platform of 1972. This is just official document. sharing information. If you go look it up online for yourself, they're making it difficult to find. I don't know if people have been noticing this, but things that you used to easily go and put it on the internet and find them, you can't find this stuff no more. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff you can't find. But I'm gonna bring your attention to just one. It's a bunch of stuff, all of it's aimed at children. Sex education for children, adoption, gay adoption of children. But there's one that's most important for what we're talking about today. And they break it down from the federal level and the state level. On the state level, they say every single state, they want laws repealing all laws governing the age of sexual consent. I'm gonna say that again. They want the repeal of all laws governing the age of sexual consent. Meaning, newborn babies, they want it to be legal to have sexual contact with a newborn baby. What year did I say? 1972. That's 51 years ago. Fast forward 21 years from then to 1993. In the interest of producing that result, they had right downtown, 30 minutes, not even 30 minutes if there's no traffic, go right up here, East Capitol, go all the way up the road, you run right into it. They had the 1993 Gay Rights March on Washington. Let's see what that was about.
Check one.
Did y'all hear what they just said? Do I need to play that again? He said, don't play it again. He said, no, thank you. All right, I want to do this again. They said, we're young, we're queer. We're going to do what? We're going to rule the world. Now remember, 21 years before that, what did they say that they wanted for children? Repeal all laws governing the age of sexual consent. They want to have sex with children and make it totally legalized. 21 years after they said that, they said, we're young, we're queer, we're going to rule the world. That was in 93. This is 30 years after that. So they've had 30 years to say we're queer, we're going to rule the world, which at that point they said, we haven't gotten to the point where we rule the world, because if they did, they wouldn't be saying that. They would say, we're young, we're queer, and we rule the world. They didn't say that. We're young, we're queer, we're going to rule the world and have it our way.
Something that's not talked about enough. Everybody needs to get a copy. We have them out here today. Get your packet. His name is J. Bart Klassen, MD, medical doctor. He worked directly with Anthony Fauci in '88, as far back as 1988. Thank you. And what he talks about, the title of his article, a peer-reviewed article, COVID-19 and illegal bioweapons activity and insiders' revelations. What does J. Bart Klassen say? I'll just read this one line here. Israel never signed the 1972 Biological and Toxin Weapons Convention, and the author provides evidence to indicate the Mossad, which is the Israeli CIA, using U.S. human and material assets in running a large genocidal bioweapons attack on the world. He has a peer-reviewed study where he shows the information as an insider working there that this whole pandemic was orchestrated by Jews as a massive culling and killing and murder of people on this planet.
Straight Black Pride family. This is Asha Sekhmet, and I am so grateful to be seeing my brother Ayo Kimathi running for the state senator position for the 41st district. This is exciting news because my personal testimonial is that Irritated Genie, he has sparked my level of consciousness, awareness, and getting connected to the deeper parts of my roots, my ancestry, and my culture. I would not be where I am today if it was not for the work that Brother Ayo Kimathi has done for our community. We always talk about protect Black women and children. Well, here's our opportunity. Donate for the brother. Also share and connect with other people to share why it's so important that we have strong Black men as representative in our leadership who have done the work, who have been doing this work and continue to dedicate their life to helping us and protecting us. Let people know, advocate for Brother Ayo Kimathi. I am endlessly grateful for the work that he has done and the service that he has put into our community. Now, I also want to mention that, of course, we align in the Mahi community with the values and principles of the Straight Black Pride movement. We represent a community that goes to divine feminine and divine masculine harmonization. We talk about ancient indigenous practices going back to our original culture. That includes family practices like polygamy, sharing with our sisters, our husband, and making sure that our children are taken care of. Also, Tantra. These are indigenous sacred intimacy practices between man and woman. We're going back to our original culture. If you want to learn more about the Mahi community life system, then you can connect with me on ashasekmet.com. You can learn more about this ancient wisdom and sacred energy practices at our upcoming event, New Earth Consciousness, that is going to be Wednesdays, November the 12th, 19th, and 26th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can RSVP on my website. That is, I am Asha Sekhmet on all social media platforms. And we have a live Q&A this Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. You can come and ask questions so that you can begin your initiations and learning back to connect on a soul level who you were really meant to be. And special shout out to my brother, DC. I absolutely love and commend you for all the work and the service that you do for our community.
All right. Greetings, friends, family, allies, and of course, enemies. I am your host, DC Radical One, and you have entered the center. Shout out to Sister got me started doing this, Ashby. And shout out to all those who contributed to my development in this sphere. Tonight's discussion, man, we're going to talk a little bit about hip hop, how it was used to destroy Black culture. I was looking for some things that I wasn't able to find. So that was a little frustrating. I don't think I'm gonna be going long. It depends on how much audience comes in to the building. Speaking of which, before they Straight Black Pride, Brother Elijah, Baby Toomey, Brother Safo, before they Sister Najee, before they brother, you got ripped off. And I thought I saw somebody else, but I don't see. I think that's everybody that's checked in the chat. So I am not sure If it's YouTube or tired of the show, I don't know what's going on. But our views have fallen significantly, like lower than they've been in years. So I'm going to say this. Every show that we don't reach a certain milestone, and I'm not even going to mention what the milestone is, I'll cut that show down by at least half an hour. So y'all know normally I have a tendency to go over 2 hours. Definitely not going to do that tonight unless we see an increase in audience size of maybe approximately 50% of what I see now. Like I said, I don't know the root. I don't know the reason. Most of what I've seen is largely the falling off of the female audience for whatever reason. That includes the Center and SBL Talk, which are two different shows, two different formats. Of course, SBL is co-hosted by Sister Najee. But let's be honest, if we cannot provide a product that the people find compelling, and by we I mean me, then it may be time to take a break and let people I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I guess people are looking to be entertained. As Farrakhan once said, I ain't no damn entertainer. You know what I'm saying? If I wanted to be an entertainer, I would have signed that management contract and that record contract 25 years ago. But that was not what I was looking for. Plus, I can read fairly well, regardless of what you may think about my capacity for speaking. And that contract was just wasn't going to sign it. It was not advantageous to myself, as most record contracts are. So, speaking of record contracts and music and all that, last week, for whatever reason, and I don't remember the reason now, I wanted to talk about this subject. About how hip hop was used to destroy Black culture. And the reason I wanted to talk about it, because for a while now, right, I've heard people online say, talk about the culture. And some of them weren't Black, like some Hispanics and some Black people, whatever. And so I'm like, really, I was confused for a second. I'm like, the culture. So I'm like, okay, they're definitely not talking about American culture. And they're not talking about Black American culture. And they're not talking about Latino culture, because sometimes Black people say it when no one else is around. Sometimes Latinos will say it when no one else is around. So, what I'm saying? So I was like, I was admittedly confused for it. And then I realized, I was like, oh, people are talking about hip hop. And I said, well, you know what? Here's problem number one. Hip hop is not a culture. It is a subculture. And that delineation, it may seem like, what they say? In essence, a delineation without a difference. I forgot the proper saying. But that's a huge difference. It makes a huge difference because, in essence, if we look at it, right, hip hop now, as opposed to what it was at its inception, is basically the N-word movement, right? As far as how people talk, walk, dress, their general mannerisms, right? It's just N-wordism. So there was a time when hip hop was founded, nobody was publicly N-word. Now, I wasn't in the Bronx in 1973 or whatever it was. You know what I'm saying? In fact, and some people say that wasn't the first party. So I might not even be, more than likely, I wasn't even born when the first party came out, right? So that's neither here nor there. We'll get into that a little bit. But my point being is that the danger is us thinking, because think about it. Think about it. Hip hop is 50. Let's say they had the 50th anniversary. Everybody, for the most part, traces it back to the party that Kool Herc and his sister had at 1520 Sedgwick Ave in the Bronx in 1973. All right, cool. We're gonna get a little bit into that history and stuff, and show some videos and everything. But that's generally the accepted timeline. Fine. All right, let's take it from there. Black people been around just in America, right, for way longer than 1973. So how is this our culture? How are we limited to just this dancing and rapping and graffiti? How are we limiting ourselves to that? How are we limiting our children to that? Who got us to do that? And in fact, not only that, but here's what's deep. The foundation of hip hop has been stripped away with only the rap being left over. You see what I'm saying? So, and you like, all right, DC, what you mean by that? All right, so this is what I mean. In fact, let me see if I can bring that up. Make sure I still got it. These are considered the 5 pillars of hip hop. Now, at one time, it was only 4, right? But so we're gonna deal with the 5 pillars of hip hop. What we have today is simply not hip hop. It's just not, right? And I one thing you got to do is, of course, I said I'm not gonna have any discussions that are ahistorical. Secondly, we have to be able to identify when things have been mixed, diluted, tampered with, also corrupted. So the original pillars of hip hop, ask yourself when you hear the mumble rappers or whatever it is that's going on now, right? Ask yourself, does it include any of this? So for example, I came to the conclusion, right? And yeah, I'm sure some people whose job it is to study hip hop and write about it and teach classes on all that, they may disagree with me. It's not a hip hop record if there's no scratching on it. That's my opinion, right? People can argue with me about it, right? But if you go back to the origins of hip hop, right? Of when it was recognized as something definitively different from the spoken word that preceded it and helped give birth to it, right? So I'm saying Lost Poets, Gil Scott-Heron, people like that. That preceded hip hop. That I was introduced to that as a teenager, and like literally people told me, they like, yeah, what y'all into comes out of this. I was like, all right, show me. You know what I'm saying? Because when we were teenagers, you know what I'm saying, 5% used to say show and prove. So I was like, all right, show me. So literally, right, the older cats went to their basement, got their records, put it on a record player, played Gil Scott-Heron, like Whitey's on the Moon, and the revolution will not be televised, right? Gil Scott-Heron there's a track playing behind him that's basically looped. You know what I'm saying? And he's rhyming. All right, cool. I can't debate that. Is it what Kool Herc and them was doing? No. But did it precede it? Yes. Did it help give birth to what Kool Herc and them and Coke La Rock and all them end up doing? Without question. Right? Like, so when people, like, I think, like, there's been this discussion of who invented hip hop, right? And people like, oh, black Americans invented it and this and that, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter. Here's why. Does it matter for historical sake? Sure, fine. Does it matter in the sense of why they wanted to matter? Because people like, They want to gatekeep now. But you can gatekeep the money. You see what I'm saying? Gatekeep the money. Hip hop produces, I have no idea how much money hip hop produces annually now. Billions of, let's just put it like over the last, let's say from 1980. So I'm not going back to the 70s. I'm not even going to go back to the first hot record, which was Rappers Delight. I'm not even going to go back that far. If you start with like LL Cool J, Rakim era, like 86, right? Hip hop, just the music aspect has generated billions of dollars. Have we seen the vast majority of that money? The answer is no. Has that money, has it helped individual people? Sure. But there's a lot of people who've gone into that industry, did not receive their proper royalties, did just as broke leaving the industry as when they walked in the door. They had a few good years, they had a few good hits. We may know them, you know what I'm saying? We may know them, they're more well known. Some of them are able to do some shows or whatever, right? Like somebody like Nas, he's taking some older cats and giving them jobs and let them put out records and things like that. But overall, like, has it benefited our community? No, it has benefited our community, not economically. Has it benefited our community? Intellectually? No, because they ended that 30 years ago, back in 95. Has it benefited our community culturally? No, because we call ourselves N-words. So it's been more detrimental than beneficial. Right? But originally, it was a youth subculture built around, largely, as African Bambaataa said, quote unquote, having fun. And youth should be able to have fun. Okay, cool. Let's look at one of the things that it's taken away. It took away. One of the things it took away was, now I understand this is still music, but one of the things it took away was people learning how to play live instruments. I've spoken about, I haven't done a whole show on it, but I've spoken about the mechanization of music and how once the music starts getting mechanized, it's inorganic, and it's the life is largely taken out of the music. Now, when I talked about it, I went back and looked at an interview, and Prince was saying something similar, and he just talked about the computerization. We really kind of were saying the same thing, but I had never seen that. Like that, the clip. When I saw the clip, I was like, man, that's what I was talking about, basically. You know what I'm saying? But he was talking about it like on a different level. Again, he's a multi-instrumentalist. Me, not so much. You know what I'm saying? But we were saying the same thing, and hip hop contributed to that, even though there were hip hop bands at the beginning, right? So, and people forget, this was a youth subculture that was localized. So it was local to New York. So started in the Bronx, expands out because, of course, the New York train system, if nothing else, is somewhat efficient, right? So you can travel all over New York, and eventually that stuff gets to New Jersey, right? And Connecticut, and then eventually people drive down 95 to Philly and DC, and people go to HBCUs and they go there before they get Brother Crow, and it spreads, right? And so, as somebody who's like dead center in, I'm probably much more in the hip hop generation than I am Generation X. Did I greet Brother Crow? Before they the Brother Crow. I ain't greet you, brother. I remember because again I was not in New York, but I remember when it started getting put on wax that it started spreading. So I remember hearing the message, Melly Mel, Grandmaster Flash and Melly Mel. I mean, the Grandmaster Flash Furious 5? Yeah, Grandmaster Flash Furious 5. I remember Curtis Blow. These are the Braves. In fact, Nas's "If I Ruled the World" came from Curtis Blow's "If I Ruled the World," right? I don't even know what year that was, right? Because I was a little boy, so I don't remember the year, but I remember Curtis Blow. Like, so this stuff was being played on the radio. I remember when I got my own boombox, there was an AM station in DC. I cannot remember what it is now. It may have been a WOL station, but I don't know. There was an AM station in DC, and certain times of the day they play hip hop, and I would fall asleep listening to that. So they would play like LL Cool J. I'm trying to remember, but it was a lot of people. They might have played Mo D's or Cool Mo D's original group, but of course, eventually Rakim, things like that. And then eventually, as it got more commercialized, they had the video jukebox, right? So anybody remembers a video jukebox, y'all let me know. The video jukebox, you used to be able to call in, I think it was 99 cents or 199, something like that. You call this number and they will play your video. So, and for a while, like people, I don't know where these people got it. Somebody got in trouble, but I don't know, man. 99 cents. He said, "Oh, so your generation is to blame for LL Corny J." Man, LL wasn't a sucker back in the day, man. You know what I'm saying? LL wasn't a sucker back in the day. I don't know what happened. He went Hollywood. That's what happened. What am I talking about? He went Hollywood. I was a Kool Moe Dee fan. I was a LL fan at first. I ain't gonna lie. When radio came out, because LL was probably like 3-4 years older than me. When radio came out, I was an LL fan. When I heard Mo D, because I didn't know that Mo D was part of the Treacherous 3, right? So I heard the Treacherous 3, but I didn't really. I was like, yeah, whatever. But then when I heard Mo D solo, I was like, yo, this dude is nice, right? So if you go back and listen, man, and I wish I could just play the music and just so people could understand. Like, if you go back and listen to Mo D, he really pushed the folk culture, the lyrical format forward, and opened up the way for Rakim to refine it and take it to a whole new level, right? So there's just if you go back and listen to, again, Rapper's Delight, it's very basic, right? The rhyme schemes are very basic. A hip, a hop, a hippity hip, hip, a hop, you don't stop the rock. To the bang bang boogity up the boogie to the rhythm of the boogity beat. Like, okay, now what you hear is not a test. I'm rapping to the beat. Okay, very basic, right? Almost like nursery rhyme. And allegedly that dude stole that line, them rhymes from somebody else. That's a whole nother story. I don't remember that whole story. I ain't gonna get into that. You know what I'm saying? That's why I said allegedly. So as it evolved, like anything else, people get better at it. So when you listen to like the message, when it's like broken glass everywhere, like there was a certain cadence that they had, right? The difference was he was talking about things that were more, it wasn't party music, he was talking about life. So literally it just sounded like he looked outside his window, he walked around his neighborhood and was like, this sucks, I'm gonna write about it. The message is one of the seminal rhymes in hip-hop history because at least for me, it was the first time that I remember somebody talking about like some real, like somebody basically telling me, this is what my life is like, this is what my neighborhood is like, this is what's going on where I live, right? And it was, you know, they showed the grimy, ugly parts of it. You're like, oh, wow. So, I mean, the whole, when I think about it, it's like, really, it was mind blowing. Because again, for me, I'm 10 or something like that. You know what I'm saying? When this song comes out, 10, 11, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I don't remember. So, though, when that happens, it opens up what can be spoken about because the song becomes a hit, right? The message becomes a hit. It changes the environment and opens up the way for people to talk about other things. But you know what? Let me go back. Let me deal with the 5 pillars because that ain't gonna take long. Let me deal with the 5 pillars real quick, and then we'll get back to the evolution of hip hop. So let me deal with this. All right. So these are the 5 pillars, the basic elements of hip hop, according to the one I heard say it, of course, was Greek Bang Booty. So unfortunately, he's so intertwined in the hip hop that I can't just throw out the knowledge with the bathwater. So it says, let's take it back to the very beginning. This is their very beginning. All right. Don't argue with, I don't want people to get mad at me. Like, man, cool. Hey, whatever. It says the August 11th, 1973 Rec Room Party at 1520 Sedgwick Avenue in the Bronx is undeniably one of, if not the most famous parties in hip hop history. Thrown by, it says a father, it does not say the father, all right, of hip hop, DJ Kool Herc, and his sister Cindy. It was here that Herc experimented with the breaks in records, elongating portions of them after noticing that dancers would groove to certain points in a record to flop to the floor. Hip hop, however, was not the discovery of one single person. Dance floors were shaking before that famous night in August. Curtis Blow, another father of hip hop, DJ'd his first party at the age of 13. There were no turntables, only instinct and a unique style that would secure his place in history. The same breaks that DJ Kool Herc would experiment with on August 11th, Curtis Blow would also discover by listening to James Brown, who he called the #1 cat during that time, which was the Motown era, with the funkiest beats that we could dance to. Curtis Blow would go on to record the iconic song, The Breaks. These are the breaks. You know what I'm saying? That's etched in my memory. And taught people who had never been to the famous Bronx parties how to navigate a new rhythm. It was clear that a new groove was emerging from the Bronx and would echo out from each borough of New York City and soon the world. Hip hop's 5 pillars: MCing, DJing, breakdancing, graffiti, and the part that always gets left out, knowledge, were born out of the collective spirit of excitement and innovation that describes this moment in hip hop history. Commercial recognition wasn't far, I guess I should say far behind, but it's just far ahead. Whatever. Curtis Blow became the first rapper signed to a major label deal in 1979 with his song Christmas Rapping, which, weirdly enough, I do not remember. The Sugar Hill Gang's Rapper's Delight was one of the first hip hop singles to land in the top 40 charts in 1979. Now, from my understanding, speaking of Rapper's Delight, I should have looked this up or tried to find out. I thought that they sampled Good Times, but somebody told me that they actually replayed it, had live musicians replay it, because I think Sugar Hill Records was Sylvia Rome, and she was already in the industry, and she had people replay it instead of sampling it, so they didn't have to get the same amount of royalties to Chic, because rappers alike, basically they rap over Chic's Good Times, which was a disco record. Now, Chic is one of my favorite old school groups, right? Chic, because of Bernard Edwards' bass playing and Nile Rodgers, who was basically the founder of Chic, his guitar playing and his general musicianship. So that is that's why I like Chic, but I digress. You know what I'm saying? I remember I sent a Chic song to this sister, and she was like, but it had a weird thumbnail, and she was like, "Why you send me this weird song?" I said, "Nah, play the song. Just play the song. Don't look at the weird looking people. Just play the song." You know what I'm saying? But that was funny because she was like, "Yo, these people look weird." I'm like, "Man, listen." Anyway, bro, you got ripped off. Did you get them? You want me to go back over? Because it's, again, DJing, breakdancing, graffiti, MCing, and knowledge. Knowledge is the fifth. Right? That's the part that's been taken out. But what people forget is that a lot of young people were into, the 5% Nation was big in New York, in all boroughs, right? And so a lot of 5% lingo was brought into, first of all, a lot of 5% lingo was brought into Africa Bambaata's group, Zulu Nation, which came out of the Black Spades, from my understanding. So they took a lot of 5% lingo, but this was probably before he started messing with Dr. York or whatever. And in fact, they have their own lessons, which are kind of similar to 5% lessons, which were taken out of the Nation of Islam lessons, which were kind of taken out of Noble Ali's teachings. You know what I'm saying? That we take it all the way back. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm sure some brother from the Nation, some brother from the Moors is going to come up and argue about that if they ever hear this, but y'all can argue amongst yourselves from that. That's the historical line that I've seen how it come through. Now, the knowledge part has definitely just been thrown in the dustbin of history, right? Let's just be honest. Knowledge and hip hop, yeah, or modern day rap, yeah, no such thing. And it's interesting too, because I was watching a brother in a hip hop channel, and he was talking about some, what do you call them people? Some podcasters, and they were talking about how they were talking about New York hip hop, old school New York hip hop wasn't danceable, and it wasn't party music, and this and this and that. And when the people were talking, I just said, these are people that they running around, so they don't know. That's all. Like they just don't know. Man, Eric B. And then they mentioned Rakim specifically. I'm like, Eric B. as president was not only getting played on the radio, people was grooving to Eric B. as president. Like, that was a party jam. It was literally their party jam on an album where they had a lot of knowledge and stuff. And then they had a couple of instrumentals just for people to dance to and just for people to DJs to use. Like, literally. Even though Rakim called himself the microphonist and the soloist and the God MC, but he still made room for his DJ. Yeah, again, it's not called Rakim as president, it's called Eric B as president. He made room for a DJ to to shine, in essence. So, like, that whole discussion, when I was listening, I was like, this is why I don't entertain ahistorical discussions. Because if you weren't there and you haven't talked to people who were there and you haven't interviewed anybody, or you haven't at least looked it up and seen interviews of people who were there, it's not possible for you to know what you were talking about. And it's really that simple. And so the brother I was looking at, he played clips and then he would break it down why they were wrong. And I was just like, what it made me think is this: if people can be completely wrong about something that happened only a mere basically 40 years ago, not quite 40 years ago, then how wrong are we about so much other stuff if we can't get 40 years of history straight? Where you got videos, you got audio, like it's a history that's been literally documented. You can look up the Billboard charts, you know what I'm saying? But people don't want to do that. They just want to spit their ahistorical opinions with no factual evidence to back it up, and act as if there's some type of an authority on something, and they don't know what they were talking about. And so the dude who writes for a magazine or whatever, he just went and smacked that down. And I respected him correcting the record, because the dude was just wrong. He didn't know what he was talking about. And I'm not gonna lie, it's so weird that for something that's so current like hip hop, a lot of people have a lot of opinions where they just don't know what they're talking about. And it's so weird to me, because I'm like, there are still people, some of the people who were there for the founding of hip hop are literally still alive. You gotta go to New York and find him. Like, as far as I know, now maybe he passed recently, but I haven't heard it. But like Coke La Rock is still in the Bronx somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like MC Shan occasionally just comes on to diss people for no reason, but he's still running around. Like, you can ask him questions and so forth and so on. Like, these people aren't huge stars. The money and the fame part bypassed them because they were ahead of it. But yeah, so anyway, let me get back to this article, because I said I wasn't going to talk long, and we already passed. We're almost at the 1 hour mark, and I haven't read almost nothing. So yeah, the knowledge part, like I said, is a part that's been left out, and that's been filled in basically with ignorance. Let's see. Is there anything else that I would like to read in that? Let me see. I don't think so. I think that's pretty much it that I would like. Well, let me look. All right. Here we go. MCing. So they break down each thing. So we'll do that. Cool. We got time. MCing, oral, manifested from the social. It should say societal conditions of the time. This form of poetic verbal acrobatics was derived from ancient African culture and oral tradition, also known as rapping. This element removed the veil that isolated the wider culture from the social conditions of many underserved urban communities. This rapid fire wordplay spoke the truth of stories that weren't being told and gave rise to a new urban narrative. Now, let me just speak on that real quick. Where it went wrong is when you allow people outside to exploit the desire to tell stories, right? So, and when it came to the desire to tell mostly negative stories. So I give you an example. The Message told a story, and it was what's the word? I can't think of the word, but it was a story that really was like, you should be cautious of the things that you do, because this can be the outcome, because this is the environment that I am in. And if you're in a similar environment, you can have negative things happen, right? 10 years after that, you would largely be the glorification of that same environment, which is still negative, maybe even more negative 10 years later, and the glorification of those stories. And instead of the person in that environment choosing certain things and becoming a victim, they're glorified and become a victor. Now, like if you watch the show that I reposted yesterday, where have we seen that before? Well, we saw that 20 years before with the Mac and Superfly and things like that, right? Where, especially with the Mac and some of those other ones, what happens is what should be the villain, the criminal, is glorified, right? Into the 20 years later, instead of a visual media like movies, well, it became visual because of the music video, but oral media did the same thing. We came to glorify, it went from telling our story to glorifying our criminals. Now, DJing. DJing is the manipulation of sounds that are used to create music. The innovative breaks and isolation of percussive beats was what gave hip hop its initial rise. This new form of DJing was allegedly started by DJ Kool Herc in the 1970s. In the early days, the DJs were the stars. Rappers such as Kurtis Blow and Grandmaster Flash with their ingenious rhymes later gained prominence in the spotlight. So, like the first recognized MC who was rhyming over breakbeats is Coke La Rock, right? From my understanding, if there's anybody that, and he was rhyming over Kool Herc's beats, break beats back in 73, 74, something like that. Anyway, breakdance, physical. Groups as the Shaka Zulu Kings, the Zulu Queens, the Rocksteady Crew gave rise to b-boying and b-girling. Breakdancing can be described as poetry in motion, like almost literally. It showcases an acrobatic style with influence of gymnastics, capoeira, martial arts, and other cultural influences speak to the innovative wave ushered in by hip-hop culture. Now, I wish I had that video, but I don't. There was a video, and if anybody's seen it, y'all let me know, that I saw on Instagram. And it was a West African cultural group that were basically breakdancing. Like, I'm talking about serious old school breakdancing, like, and they back in the day you put cardboard down because it was less friction and it would allow you to spin on your back, spin on your wrist, or spin on your head, right? And but anyway, I saw this clip. It's been like, man, maybe 5 years ago now. And this African group, and they were doing the same moves, but the clip was like from the 50s. So the idea that hip hop doesn't come out of African culture, where literally the spoken word, the call and response, the rhyming is African, and the breakdancing is African, which I didn't know until I saw that clip. I had heard some things, but I had saw no evidence. And when I saw that clip, I was like, oh, wow. The graffiti part, art is art, I think, well, I guess really you can still take that back you can take that back thousands of years. Because what am I talking about? Instead of just painting, I'm tripping. Instead of just painting on the wall, we literally used to carve and tell our stories in stone. So the graffiti really comes out as a modernization of ancient Kemet. Really, I think about it now that I'm thinking, right? Before I wasn't thinking. So all of this really goes back. All of this is in our DNA and just was manifested in different ways. So the graffiti is visual. Graffiti is one of the most controversial elements as most graffiti artists leave their artwork in public places and tag it by leaving their names. Like Tacky 183 made this form of artist representation famous. In neighborhoods such as Wynwood, Little Haiti, and Opelika, we can see this art form's widespread integration with bursts of energy and vibrancy on buildings throughout the city. Now, back in the day, they used to tag the trains, the New York trains. So New York transit system basically became the canvas for graffiti artists, right? Yeah, that's what we probably talking about the same videos, but I couldn't find them when I was looking. Anyway, but let me just read the last element and get that out the way. No need to prolong this article. Knowledge. This element is the thread that weaves all the other elements together. Knowledge of self refers to the Afro-diasporic mix of spiritual and political consciousness designed to empower oppressed groups, according to Travis Gosley in his book entitled The Fifth Element of Hip Hop, Knowledge. This quote merges with the vision that Bang Booty allegedly had of hip hop as a force for social change. Bang Booty said America has systemized our minds into materialism. Instead of buying into this notion, we should think about how we can give back to our communities. Well, as we know, Bang Booty has given he hasn't given anything. He's destroyed the lives of many people with his allegedly crimes against the people, and I'm gonna leave that there because some people from Zulu Nation may want to come on and confront me about that, but the man could have addressed the charges years ago in New York, in Harlem on 125th Street. I was there, and some members from the Zulu Nation came out, and we addressed it with them, and they said they wasn't with it, and they could not verify that those crimes took place, nor could they deny them, and that was that. So DJ Biggs says MCing, rapping, DJing, breakdancing, graffiti art, and knowledge. Black American culture created the culture. Graffiti was being done in Philly during and after the civil rights movement and MLK assassination. All right, thank you for that, brother. And again, I'm not debating it coming from Black American culture. I'm saying it goes back even further. I'm saying that literally all of this goes back thousands of years, not hundreds of years, thousands of years before our arrival here. I'm just saying we're manifesting different parts of our original culture in a modern and new way using different methodologies. So like I said before, instead of carving into stone, right, carving into a stone wall to tell our story, whether it's spray paint on a wall or back in the day on a train, you know what I'm saying, to tell their story. So it's just really an updating of what's been in us from time immemorial. Right? So really the elements that make up hip hop, each of them, in some aspect or another, whether it's the rhythmic aspect of the break beats or man, that's just today. Goodness, my bad. I was distracted. Y'all gotta forgive me. But black woman just walked by. It was a black woman. But what I was saying, yeah, all that goes back to our original culture, each aspect of it. But I thank you for that. We'll put in that information in the chat. So I want to play this clip from the Last Poets where was an interview with one of the Last Poets, and they talk about their influence on hip hop. So let me pause that. Let me pop this in real quick.
Very special guest with me on the phone right now. It's not all the time I get the opportunity to talk to somebody so legendary and so influential on this culture that we all love called hip hop. But right now I have Umar bin Hassan of The Last Poets on the phone with me right now. How's it going, man?
Yeah, I'm here, still here, man. It's 71 and a few bruises and battles, but I'm still here. I am still here. And happy to be here, too. Still learning what it is to be a human being. That's all.
Hey, man, of course, like, I just gotta say, man, like, thank you so much for what you've contributed to not only just hip hop unknowingly and almost unwillingly, but like just what you've contributed to music as a whole. Like, The Last Poets, what you guys did was so different, and even to this day, it still resonates. It's very much, some things get lost in translation over the years. What you guys put out did not. It is something that stands the stamp of time, and it's still relatable today in 2019.
Yeah. Well, I know niggas is still revolution is still what's happening, and this is madness is still what's happening. So like I said, I'm quite happy to be around to see what's happening and what's coming after us or what's supposed to be happening after us. So I'm all right with myself. I'm not mad at nobody from hip hop. I'm not mad at how much money they make. It's just do because it always has to come back to who we were. No matter how much money they make, it always has to come back to who we were, because we opened up the record industry for them. Because we were selling records like 2 and 3 million records at a time, and I guess a lot of people looked at them and said, wow, we got some little hip stuff for this and some music to this, we could really make some money. And so then you got hip hop,
Yeah, man, like, it's phenomenal. Like, and one thing I think too, you guys don't get the credit you deserve in how instrumental you guys were in what hip-hop became, because a lot of times they go back, like, I don't know if you've seen the Evolution of Hip-Hop documentary they put out, but they give a lot of credit to disco, and people like Pigmeat Markham and different great disc jockeys and stuff, who talked in rhyme, but you guys really set the precedent for not only revolutionary and social awareness talking in rhyme, but even just the cadence and the way that you guys did it and the rawness of it, I think really was the precursor for a lot of the change you've seen in hip hop after it went from disco to more street.
Yeah. But like we've been happy to still be here, man, at this time, and to see some of the young artists who coming up, some who we like and some who we don't. So we appreciate what some of them have tried to do to express their generation in terms of who they are and where they're going. So, like I said, we're not mad at any of them. That would be stupid for us to be mad at our children, just for trying to be something different or do something different, because they really are our children. And we look at them. Some of them even call us daddy playfully around, the ones who we really deal with and know and care about. So we're happy that it's all part of our contribution to our culture and to the American culture. We're okay with that.
That's amazing, man.
So that was a member of The Last Poets, and like I said, I got introduced to The Last Poets. I can't remember how old I was. Maybe like 12. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, man, really, they weren't elders. They were just older, bro. They were just grown. I was a child and they was grown. They literally they went and played the record for me. They played the Gil Scott Heron, they played The Last Poets. And when I heard it, I was like, okay, yeah, I can see how this evolves into what we do. Cool. I saw the brother talking about it. DJ brother, I saw him talking about James Brown. Man, James Brown is so to your point, man, James Brown is so instrumental in, like, James, to me, this is just my opinion, brother. You can disagree or let me know. James Brown is literally, sonically speaking, the foundation of East Coast hip hop, right? The foundation of boom bap is really James Brown, sonically, like musically speaking, because that funky drummer has been sampled and resampled, and Man, so many times. I remember somebody seeing a YouTube video on it, and I remember hearing it back in the day. But they did a YouTube video on like just different songs that's been used in over the years, and how people have sped it up, slowed it down, it manipulated it every way you can manipulate a sample, and it's just like, you know. But I remember coming up and hearing that funky drummer, and like, let's see, one of Public Enemy songs, or I'm trying to think of all the songs that I remember hearing it then where I could recognize it. And then I remember, here's what's hilarious. My grandfather, he loved James Brown. Like, that was his man. I remember him having 8-track tapes. That's how old I am. Like, anybody just look up what an 8-track tape is. 8-track tape is. Big giant thing. We're not Big Giant, because reel to reel would be Big Giant. My father had reel to reel. He had a reel to reel system, and basically reel to reel was almost the same. It was like a smaller version of the tape they use in the studio. And now that I think about it, but yeah, my grandfather had 8-track tapes of James Brown, and he would play them in his car. And when I would ride around with him, that's what he would play. That was his man. So apparently, I wasn't the only one that got that experience, because a lot of DJs made a lot of records over James Brown. They used them James Brown break beats to death. Like that, those things have been born to groove off of them albums. But so yeah, now I'm just sitting there thinking about it, and just it brings back memories. So again, that was the brother from the Lost, from The Last Poets. And it was another clip that I wanted to play. But I'm gonna play this Cool Herc clip. I think they mentioned Coke La Rock in this one. If they don't, then that's a miss on their part, because he was right there with Herc. And I saw a brother talking about, all the people that helped Herc set up the system and all that, none of them get mentioned. That's history. That's how history works. Like, people who are right next to people get forgotten all the time. So that, I mean, he almost sounded like he was offended, but I mean, man, y'all know how it goes. Anyway, you gonna watch this Cool Herc clip, and they talk about the party on Cedric Avenue.
Music he played made life work and made him a legend. Cool DJ Herc.
Cool Herc. Who's that? I'm that guy who started all this mess, okay? From b-boards to dancing and making it a groove on. That's it. Get you up and sit you down. Oh, this is my sister. She started me out, okay?
I'm the first hip-hop promoter. My back-to-school party that I gave, 1520 Cedric Avenue, August 11, 1973. That was the birth of hip-hop. At the time, New York City was almost bankrupt. There was really nothing there for kids to do. When we started the party, it was different because you felt connected. You felt a part of it.
When Cool Herc gave a party, everybody be there.
I didn't want my party to be whack, so I said, Herc, I'm giving the party and you're gonna play the music. And he said, okay.
How was it? Pretty good. Everybody showed up, had a good time.
Wow.
People heard music they never heard before.
The Ozzy Brothers, Jimmy Castor, Gladys Knight, Baby You, the Mexican. When I did 2 records, I extended the records. Right now, I call this the merry-go-round.
If you look in the vinyl, when there's a heavy groove on there, That's when Herc said, oh, okay, that's the groove. And the B-boys were just waiting for that.
Yeah. Those are my turntables. That was it. You don't find it no more. This right here, this is the power. And also system cooled out at the same time. So you never overheat. We gave another way out because I remember I met Biggie. He said, Herc, thanks for starting this hip hop. Otherwise, I've been stealing. He said, thank you, Herc, and I appreciate that. I wish I could play right now. Give you a little taste. There's three kind of people. There's white people, there's black people, there's my people. And that's where you find me at.
Hip-hop has done so much. It's a global genre of music. I want the legacy to be that something that we did is positive. And we just want everybody, whoever, have an opportunity to have a piece of history to know this is where it came from, this is where it started. And it's just something that came out of love.
Cool. Who's that? Who's that? See, we're the first MCs. So that's what's up.
All right, so that was Cool Herc or whatever. I forgot there was a brother that they mentioned back in the day that actually was doing, because I mean, first of all, can't nobody say they invented parties in the black community like that. You can be going back to slavery time. But there was another brother in New York doing parties in like 71. But I haven't heard anybody, brother, you tell me, if did he originate extending the break beats, like what they call the merry-go-round? Did Herc originate that, or did somebody else originate that? That's my question, because realistically, that is really what he's really been known for, and that's why people have said he's, in essence, I guess, the godfather of hip-hop. So he's been credited with that. Now, if he didn't do that, that's really what I want to know, right? So if you got that information, you put that information in the chat. I'll put that up, because realistically, people should kind of, like, the information really should go out that that's what he started, and that is the delineation, right? But like I said, he's one of the godfathers. Coke LaRock was his partner. He was one of the first MCs. I don't know why the man don't get no credit. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. I'm not here to argue about the history of it, because I just wanted to give the history so we have a foundation. Now, here, what we're about to talk about now is where the okay, thank you, brother. Yeah, no, I know James Brown wasn't the only one. Yeah, I know people had breaks, and records going back to this, when people started, because originally records was real short. It was only like 2-3 minutes, and then James Brown definitely one of the people that extended the records. He wasn't the only one, and made it longer and had this that the break part and the bridge part. So he basically popularized that for real. But here's the problem. Here's where the problem starts, in my humble opinion, because you have what is realistically at the beginning Black youth culture, right? I don't think anybody argues about that. If they do, whatever. Initially. And when the first people that were on wax, who were rapping, and people were scratching, so they were rapping and DJing. So people got paid to rap and DJ, right? Were Black people. One of the first labels that signed people was a black label. The problems in hip hop start, in my opinion, the minute non-black labels got involved, right? So I'm gonna give you an example of what I'm talking about. Boogie Down Productions, KRS-One, Scott LaRock, right? This is the story that I have seen. Again, anybody that was there want to correct me, let me know. It's a prime, and I'm saying this is a prime example. Scott LaRock and KRS-One, they were making songs. They had a chance to get a record deal. They had two labels bidding for them. One of them was kind of connected to some shady criminal element. And I don't mean a shady criminal element of black people. I'm talking about a shady criminal element of white people who may or may not have been mafia related, right? This is the story. Scott LaRock didn't want to deal with them, even though they had extended the offer out. He had another offer from another label. He was going to take KRS-One and the rest of the Boogie Down Productions crew to the other label, sign that deal, and that would have changed his hip-hop history, right? Anyway, and people think it's a setup now, but anyway, some type of argument or something pops off. D-Nice calls Scott LaRock, tells him he's in trouble, he about to get jumped. They was in McDonald's, they all hop up, run uptown or whatever to go get D-Nice. When he was there, when they get there, the beef is basically squashed. So Scott LaRock made sure the beef was squashed. They hop in the Jeep, they go back. On their way out of the hood, the driver, the dude that was driving the Jeep, I can't remember. He was part of the crew, but he wasn't part of the crew. I can remember the whole story. I wish I had the video, but I don't. Anyway, what happens is Scott LaRock gets killed. He gets shot. Boogie Down Productions end up with that original label, and their money basically don't get right. Scott LaRock dies, and you know, KRS-One basically scarred for life. That was the first, to my knowledge, big hip hop murder. I think so, but I'm not 100% sure. I really should have got that information, but I just remember that story because I had never heard that aspect of the story. I had always heard of the fight, and then Scott LaRock got shot. I hadn't heard about the shady label thing until recently, and I was like, "Oh, this makes way more sense to me than what I heard." You know what I'm saying? Like the story. I don't know if you ever heard a story and you hear it for a long time, but it just sounds like you're not getting the whole story. It don't matter how many times somebody tell it, and then somebody that was there tells it as it happened, and then you start thinking, "Oh, that's the story. Yeah, this is what happened. This is what was left out." So I just point that out to say, to me, this is when the problems in hip hop started. Number one, the murder of people associated with hip hop becomes a thing, right? It kind of breaks the ice. I'm not saying that no one related to hip hop was ever killed before that, but I'm saying this was actually KRS-One lifted up his name after his death to make him known to everybody. It's like the ill will. It's like the ill will thing with Nas, right? If you listen to Nas back in the day, you know ill will like he your relative because Nas talked about him all the time. That was his man that lived, I think, like directly above him. Him and his brother was out talking. Some dude walked up, shot him, killed him. So before Nas could get out the hood and become an international superstar, his homeboy got killed, and it scarred him. Let's be honest, it scarred him for life. But how many of us have stories like that where something happens to somebody while we growing up, and it scars us for life, right? I had a friend that I grew up with. Well, I didn't grow up with him because he didn't get a chance to grow up. I had a friend that I was a childhood friend that lost his life playing with a gun. That's what they said. We were in elementary school. I didn't know how to process that. You know what I'm saying? Like, what you mean? He ain't never coming to school again, or nowhere else. You ain't gonna never see him again, ever. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're in elementary school. Like, people don't die. We're like, we don't die. Like, we just got here. Like, what are you talking about? What's going on? Right? So those types of things, that event kind of opens up the doorway. And then basically the most famous murders in hip hop history we know are the Tupac and Biggie thing, which is now that I think about it, what's that dude's name? Is he still on trial for Tupac's murder? Don't let me know. I ain't heard nothing about that in a while. And I know trials move slow, but I ain't heard nothing about that in a while, right? Well, point being, once you take that, right, and then because we can blame Russell Simmons for this, right? We can blame Russell Simmons. Russell Simmons started Def Jam with the Jewish record producer Rick Rubin. They was in college together. Most of the major labels and most of the money that would come into hip hop came through Jewish people after that. Loud Records from Wu-Tang, the dude that started Loud Records, that signed Wu-Tang, his father was already a record producer. He was in his 20s. Like, you know what I'm saying? His father just gave him the money to start a record label. He signed Wu-Tang because he heard that demo. And who knows how much money he made from Wu-Tang? Because the Wu-Tang double album, like the first album, I'm sure it was platinum, but the Wu-Tang double album, I know that went 3, 4, 5 times platinum. I went and bought that thing at the first day. Like, literally the first day I bought that, right? Like, literally. That's how hot Wu-Tang was at that time. That album with Triumph and all that, we was waiting for that for a year. But, and I saw a dude talk about this. When we talk about the money aspect of it, as much as dudes talk about money and as much materialism and commercialization is talked about in hip hop, people wasn't getting their full money. I mean, Prince talked about that. I wish I should have brought the clip up, but he talked about it, and he was a megastar, way bigger than most of these people. He talked about how Mariah Carey wasn't, like, her contract was garbage, and she was selling, man, I don't know how many records from Mariah Carey she was selling. Like, she was going like 10 times platinum. I forgot she was that big, but she had crossed over the white line, right? Became mainstream. You say his trial is scheduled for August 2026. August 2026. All right, brother, thank you. He must got some lawyers working, right? Keefy D. Yeah, I forgot about Keefy D. Right? And allegedly, Keefy D said that he was supposed to have been paid by Sean Combs because they had that bounty out. So he had an alliance. Sean Combs had made an alliance with Crips to protect him in LA from the Bloods that had their alliance with Suge Knight. Which goes to show how gang the gang subculture got seeped right into hip hop and caused a whole disaster, right? So here's my thing, right? This is my thing. Like, people want to argue about other black people and whatever their contributions are not to hip hop. Like, let's just be realistic. Every aspect of it comes from some aspect before it that was amongst black people for, like I said, thousands of years. No one can deny that. Anybody that denies that, they just don't know their history, and they don't want to talk about history because they're ahistorical and they're ignoramus. All right, we got that covered. My thing is, damn gatekeeping. Yes, the history. How come nobody want to gatekeep the money? How come people ain't coming together to sue these record labels and to get this money that people know they owe? I forgot what that dude's name is. I saw he was talking about his publishing and how he has to do investigative audits to get people their funds, and how rappers turn on other rappers. Right? In this example, he talked about Big Pun wife and Fat Joe. Now, Fat Joe claimed Big Pun and him was like brothers or whatever, and he claimed that he not holding no money and this and that. But here's my thing: if we fan, right? If we say we fan, and I perish or my brother perish, he got a family, and I have the means, because again, Fat Joe ain't never claimed to be broke. How you gonna not look out for his family, your man's family? Even if let's say him and his wife was beefing and about to divorce when he died, long as you don't suspect her unaliving him, you should look out for his family. Even if you don't want to do nothing but look out for his sons and daughters or whatever, right? So that's it. I'm just pointing that out because that's the type of stuff that goes on. Now, Fat Joe claims that the stuff ain't true or whatever. Maybe he don't. Maybe his business not on point and he don't know, right? But I'm just pointing that out to say, when non-black people, especially when no, my bad. Let me cut the crap. When Jewish money got involved in hip hop, that's when everything changed for the worse. Right? Now, what happened? Well, two things happened. One, people got more notoriety, they got more fame, people got to travel the world, right? And some people got money. Let's just be honest. But a lot of people, business-wise, got screwed over because they didn't understand the contracts and they didn't have nobody to look out for them. Because here's what we forget a lot. Hip hop was youth culture, like I said, and the people who were being signed a lot of times were youth. You know what I'm saying? I think like some of Nas's rhymes he wrote when he was 17. He got signed, I think, when he was 19, right? Ice Cube, when he was writing some of his stuff, was like 16, 17 years old when he was writing stuff for NWA. Eazy-E was grown, working with Jerry Heller. But everybody else, other than maybe DOC and Arabian Prince, like everybody else was like under 20 when they started NWA and the Posse. Right? So we're not talking about grown people. I mean, Ice Cube is a perfect example of somebody who, and he wasn't actually the first one to leave, but Arabian Prince was actually the first one to leave the group. Because they didn't have here's the thing, Eazy-E had money, he bought studio time, some type of way he got hooked up with Jerry Heller. I don't know how. And they became the management, and then they started the label. But at first they didn't have a major label, so they never signed a label they never signed a label contract until after they started selling records. Then they brought them the paperwork, but Easy was paying for the records out of his pocket at first. So he would pay for them, he would put them in the stores would sell them, he would go pick up the money and buy some more records, like, you know, for their singles, like Dope Man. Dope Man was a single before it was on both records, on NWA and the Posse, and it was on Straight Outta Compton, right? But Jerry Heller had been in the music industry, so when he met him, he made sure that he got money out of them, even though they had all the talent. And not only did they have all the talent, but Easy had money to do stuff beforehand. He just didn't have the legal jargon and the connections in the industry for them to blow up. That's what Jerry Heller had. Everything else Easy already had. The talent. He had Dre to make beats, and Yella to make beats. He had Ice Cube to write rhymes. Eventually DOC came out there to write rhymes, and Ren to write rhymes. And Easy wasn't a rapper. He was a businessman who was reformed from being a drug dealer, right? But that NWA history is important because they single-handedly changed the tenor of what hip-hop was, right? And I wish I had the clip, but Jerry Heller said that he didn't like East Coast rap, and they showed it when he said it. They showed a picture of Public Enemy. He said because it was too serious and it was gold chains, and he said, and for some reason he mentioned men's slums. I don't know what that was about, and he said it wasn't fun and it wasn't funny. So black people calling themselves N-words was funny to him and fun. But black people being proud of themselves, wearing the African medallions, wearing the clocks, you know what time it is, you know what I'm saying, with Flavor Flav, 8-ball jackets back in the day. I don't know if y'all remember those. Saying what else were people was rocking? Some people was rocking the big shades, the gazelles. Was it gazelle shades? Whatever. But y'all know what I'm talking. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what East Coast hip hop looked like back then. And if not, hey, look it up. Just look up Public Enemy, Poor Righteous Teachers, Brand Nubian, even going before that, Rakim, Kwame, De La Soul. Like, you know, there's so many people, right? Right. Yeah, brother. Era big D's and gold chains. What is that? I mean, what? Bro, the fascination with the manhood of the black man is just insanity, bro. Anyway, so so NWA brought that really negative energy because here's the thing, and let's just be honest, Ice Cube was not gang affiliated when he was writing those rhymes. Plain and simple. You know what I'm saying? I mean, trying to throw no shade and disrespect nobody, but he wasn't gang affiliated when he wrote those rhymes. Easy was gang affiliated. My understanding is Easy was Kelly Park Crip. Okay, cool. Right? It is what it is. They popularized gang culture but put in even more of an element of self-hate and anti-blackness and anti-black womanhood later into the music, and other people took it and ran with it to the point where you would see. In fact, NWA stuff, now that I think about it, this was deep. NWA stuff was more cutting edge. It was more controversial than some of the people that followed him. So MC8, Compton's Most Wanted, CMW, and MC8 and this man Chill, The man Chill couldn't stay out of jail. That's why you only see MC8, you don't see Chill, but Chill kept going back and forth to jail. But when they came out, Music no, what was their first album? Not Music to Drive By. That was their second album. Anyway, but they was from Compton, which everybody in NWA wasn't from Compton, but they was from Compton. And their album wasn't as violent and street oriented as NWA's album was. Even though they was really from that hood, like they was really connected to that life. You know what I'm saying? DJ Quick, it's the same thing. So there's all these other West Coast rappers that they spawned and they inspired up to Game. Still, their stuff still wasn't as vulgar and vile as NWA stuff. Well, especially after Ice Cube left. Now it really just went completely off the rails when Ice Cube left, right? I mean, MC Ren got some rhymes that's absolutely disgusting on one of his albums. Brother said Gavin Lockhart says there need to be a documentary on this starring Professor Griff, Special Ed Cynthia McKinney, and Minister Farrakhan. That's actually an interesting idea. I'm not sure about the Minister Farrakhan thing, but it is an interesting idea to have the transition is not the word I'm looking for. The takeover of hip hop by the Hats. That actually, you're right. That needs to be a documentary if that's what you're talking about. Professor Griff, definitely. Like Professor. Let me talk about that real quick. Thank you for bringing that up. In fact, let me put this up. Real quick. Professor Griff. Everyone forgets, and yeah, we know Dr. Dre's a homophile. Tupac told us that. Everyone forgets, right? Professor Griff, as we have this knowledge up here, and ironically, I never took that off. He was the one bringing the knowledge to Public Enemy. Like he was that aspect of it, as they represented almost all these aspects of hip hop, except for breakdancing, because they replaced the breakdancing with the drilling. Right? If y'all remember, they were doing the drilling that the FOI does, and they brought it on stage, the S1Ws, Security of the First World. That's what they were doing. So they replaced the breaking with the drilling, in essence, at their shows. And I know because I got to see them live when I was like 14, 15. I was a huge Public Enemy fan. Like, I was such a Public Enemy fan that like dudes who hated me knew I liked Public Enemy, and they would like try to find out stuff about Public Enemy that I didn't know, so they could be like, "See, man, he fake, blah 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 blah." Like, man, the hating, bro. This was high school, so you know. But I know y'all gonna be like, "Man, how do you still remember the hating, man?" Because the hating was unnecessary. You know what I'm saying? The hating was unnecessary. You know what I'm saying? Because I wasn't like the man in high school, so the hating wasn't necessary. But I did have knowledge, though. I had knowledge other people didn't have, and people didn't appreciate it. And so, because I had knowledge and I was known for having knowledge, and we was reading different books and going to lectures and going up to Georgia Ave and going to the mosque and, doing our thing. Some people just didn't appreciate that back in the day. But hey, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Here I am, 30 years later, still doing the same thing. So, that's an interesting question. Anyway, so yeah, everybody forgets Professor. Speaking of hats and Professor Griff, I don't actually remember how it fell on Professor Griff, but I think he did an interview. He said something about the hats, right? Something controversial, something quote unquote anti-Semitic. I'm using air quotes here. And some type of way, they had called him to the office and was like, "Hey, you need to apologize and this and this and that, blah blah blah." And Professor Griff was like, let's just say he was not in favor of doing that. Let's just put it that way. And he's talked about this publicly. And he said Chuck ain't really have his back. And so eventually they put him out the group. And some type of way, what's the dude name? MC Search. Y'all know MC Search? There's no A in his name. Allegedly, he got his name from some 5%ers. He was at 5% Parliament. But there's no A in his name because A represents Allah. And that's representational of the black man. So that's why his name is spelled the way it's spelled. Right? Little known fact. So, first, let me stop right here. No disrespect to my New York people. But I'm going to say something. I'm going to piss y'all off. Man, New York don't get blamed for the mass integration and the giving away of a lot of things within black culture that y'all did by inviting other people to the quote unquote cookout, if you will. I'm just saying, that's like a New York thing. Like when we look around, okay, some of the Latin people, because Spanish Harlem is right there next to Harlem, I get it. Some of the intermarrying and all that, I get it. All right, cool. Them hats, I don't get it. Why y'all have them hats dead so they can steal the music? That's all I'm saying. And steal the money. B48 ingredients to raw Ito Vital. Good to see you, sister. Anybody from New York want to tell me what's going on with that? Please. Anybody from the record industry that happen to be listening to this to make sure that I have the history. Why? Why Russell Simmons? Why whoever? Why y'all allow the hats to come and steal the money? That's all I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, yeah, so Professor Griff gets thrown out of Public Enemy. And Public Enemy is never the same, as far as I'm concerned. Right? But eventually, Public Enemy helped to start, help to popularize, like political rap and popularize knowledge in rap in a political form. So before that, you had like Rakim. Rakim was spitting 5% lessons, right? So you had people spitting knowledge, but the purely political aspect of it, Public Enemy really were the ones to do that. Later on, and I used to have a brother, I used to be connected with a brother on Instagram out of the West Coast in Paris in like 1989, 90. Paris was one of my favorite rappers. He had a video, Break the Grip of Shame. I should have brought it up because I don't think Paris would actually. Wait a minute, did he own his own label back? No, he didn't have his own label, so never mind. Yeah, that record label would probably take this down. So never mind. But anyway, Break the Grip of Shame, right? Look it up. Video from Paris. This is how much I like the video. Me and my homeboy, we had went out to the movies or something, I don't know. Came back in one of them late night shows that used to show hip hop videos, like the show with D Barnes. I think that's what it was on, right? D Barnes who Dr. Dre beat up because she interviewed Ice Cube. He went and beat up a woman. Now we ain't forgot Dr. Dre. We ain't forgot. You know what I'm saying? Beating up that little girl for no reason. Sister just doing her job. We ain't forgot. Anyway, so I think that's what we was watching. So for some reason the sound was messed up and they played the video. So in the video they got Marcus Garvey, they got the Black Panthers, they got the FOI drilling, and they got brothers, you know what I'm saying, with shotguns. At least that's what I remember. And that's what I'm imagining that part. And so they got all this iconography. Now, mind you, the sound is not playing. I don't know if it was on TV or it was them. I can't remember. I don't know. I love the video so much that I went and bought the 12-inch single, Break the Grip of Shame 12-inch, without hearing it. I went and spent my, I don't even know what it was, maybe $3.99 or whatever back then, and bought that and took it to our basement, put it on the turntable. And when that beat dropped and he started rhyming, I was like, okay, man, it's worth my money. I ain't throw my money away. And then I played it for my homeboy. He was like, yo. And we were blown away. Shout out to Paris if he ever hear this. You know what I'm saying? But that era, like, people forget that the primary, can I say the primary? Let me think about this before I make this statement, because y'all might disagree. From my perspective, I won't say the primary, but basically, like, the two primary branches of hip hop at the time was knowledge/conscious rap and party rap. And then the West Coast was coming with gangster rap right in that era, right? And that broke through. And then, of course, what Luke and them was doing down south was really kind of their own thing. I forgot what they called it. It's crazy because I was right down there. I heard this stuff every day. I can't remember what they called it down in originating out of Miami or whatever. Right. So in the mid 90s, all that changed. And I remember it because I remember somebody trying to get me to sign a deal. Bass music. Thank you, brother. Somebody trying to get me to sign a deal, but I remember being like Biggie was big, and like Nas had came out, Biggie had came out, and this was like 96 or so. J. Rule had came out, like J. Rule had came out, and J. Rule was talking about hip hop changing, and he was talking about, and he mentioned Puffy, and or maybe this was 95, but I remember him mentioning Puffy and Suge. The song was called One Day, and he was talking about, basically the song was about taking hip hop back and bringing it back to its roots, right? J. Rule was one of my favorite rappers because of that song, Come Clean. Anybody that ever heard that, like, y'all know about that beat, that Come Clean beat. Shout out DJ Premier for that. Oh my God. One of the greatest, Come Clean, one of the greatest hip hop beats ever, in my opinion. Y'all can disagree with me if you want to. I'm saying that's like top 10 hip hop beats. Anybody want to put their top 10 hip hop beats in? Be my guest. But to me, Come Clean is top 10. Shout out DJ Premier. DJ Premier that made like some incredible. Man, you talk about turning sampling into an art. That's what he's done. Man. Anyway, side note, DJ Premier and Nas is supposed to be working on an album as we speak. So I'll be looking forward to that. And for the hip hop lovers, man, shout out to Nas for being basically hip hop's ambassador right now. He holding that thing up on his shoulders. And brother, you got ripped off. Did you and I wish I had, you sent me that video. Where'd you send me that video? On Telegram? While we're talking about hip hop. And I'm gonna get back to the NWA thing and the change. Now people are saying after, let's say 30 years or so, people are saying that they're tired. They have hip hop, they have rap fatigue. They don't have hip hop fatigue because, like I said, to me, it's not a hip hop song, it's no DJing in it. They have rap fatigue. And they're tired of people talking about the same thing. They're tired of Nicki Minaj talking about well, not Nicki Minaj, my bad. It wasn't her. Who got a song out right now? Megan Thee Stallion. Megan Thee Stallion talking about her private parts, allegedly. I haven't heard the song, so I don't know what she's talking about, but allegedly. And they're tired of the negative stuff in rap. I find that interesting. And this has been backed up by the data that there's no hip hop song currently, or at least as of last week, a couple of weeks ago, in the top, what they say, top 40. There's no rap song in the top 40 as of a couple of weeks ago. It's the first time in decades. So here's my question. Y'all tell me. Are people tired of rap, or are people tired? Well, no. Let me say it this way. Are people tired of hip hop, or are people tired of rap? And is it time for us to transition to a totally new music and a totally new sound, right? Because people forget, right? Think about it. We invented blues, but do we do blues anymore? No, not that collectively. Like, do we have people that play blues, but we don't do blues anymore like that? Do we do disco like that? No. To be honest, we don't really make soul music like that anymore. Like, we do some R&B, but we don't really do soul like that. So jazz, right? Bebop. We do that anymore? Yeah, not really. So we've changed genres over the years for whatever reason, right? Changing instrumentation, changing technology, just a different generation want to do their own thing, whatever. We've done that. So my question is, are people, two questions, and y'all let me know in the chat. Two questions. One, are people tired of hip hop, or are people tired of rap? And two, is it time to come up with a completely different genre of music to represent today's generation? Anyway, while y'all thinking about that, let me say this. I am your host, DC Radical One. Welcome to the center. You can follow me on Instagram at dc.radical1, on Twitter at dc_radical_one, on OTW2, which is a Black-owned platform, at DC Radical One. If you find value in this discussion and you would like to donate to the show, you can donate via Cash App, $DC Radical One, or via Zelle at dc.radical_one at protonmail.com, or you can contact me via email at dc.radical_one at protonmail.com. Now, let us get back to what I'll call the corruption of hip hop in the name of rap. So that's the best way to say it. After NWA, right? And you had the explosion of West Coast, and then you had around that same time, he was out. I think he was out right around the same time as NWA, maybe even before. But he had somebody like Too Short. He wasn't national then, he was local. Too Short, I believe, from Oakland. Too Short comes out and he basically talks about pimping and calling black women bees and all this stuff, right? And you say what K-pop picked up Black Americans doo-wop and R&B. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That, like, other people, when we drop it, other people pick it up, and then we forget. You know. Oh, Too Short. Yeah. So yeah, Too Short comes out and he calling women bees and all this stuff. I ain't gonna lie, I hated that dude, bro. Like, back in the day when I was young, like, if I had ran into Too Short, we'd been squabbling. And just straight up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't saying like I'm no big thorough dude or nothing. I'm just saying my temperament back in that day, like calling women bees and H's and stuff, I wasn't with none of that. And I ain't appreciate it. I'm just be completely honest, you know what I'm saying? We just would have been squabbling. And whatever happened would have happened, you know what I'm saying? You know, if he got out on me, they'd be like, Too Short beats up local dude, you know what I'm saying? But if I had one, they'd be like, Too Short got beat down in DC, by they probably been like random street dudes. I'm like, nah, I ain't no street dude. I'm just tired of this dude disrespecting black women. I ain't gonna lie, I hated that dude, man. Oh my god. Shout out to Too Short, but yeah, I hated him back in the day. Cause I just wasn't used to that. Like to me, they were just uncalled for. He would just call them black women bees, just like that was his whole thing. That was his whole career. And I'm just like, nah, bro. And Brother Crow said he couldn't. Yeah, he wasn't even talented. That was made it worse. Like I'm like, you're not even skilled like that. You suck, and you disrespecting our women. Like how we gonna have that? So yeah, I ain't like that, you know. But that was part of the corruption of rap, and him being popular, and these other I'm trying to think of all the people. I guess it's so many. Why am I sitting here trying to think about it? Though here's the point. The point is, and Wise Intelligent talks about this, right? Shout out to Wise Intelligent from Poor Righteous Teachers. He talks about how basically when it came time for them to, and somebody else talked about this too, like when it came time for people to like renegotiate their contracts, or they was talking to their labels, the labels literally was telling them, hey, we need you to change up your style. This isn't popping no more. We need to go in this direction, that type of thing. And some people did, and some people didn't. I would love to, hear Lord Jamar explain the change in tone from Brand Nubian's first album to their second album. Was it just because what's the brother's name? Just because the brother had left the group, or or was that where y'all trying to change with the times? You know what I'm saying? Brother Crow said Two Live Crew got popular, especially when they got banned. Yeah, you're right. That notoriety made them more popular than they were. They was basically local before that. And I'm speaking of Two Live Crew, and Brother Genius talked about this, right? I wasn't here when it happened, but I wasn't living in DC when it happened. The Two Live Crew came and changed go-go for the worse. Like Chuck Brown started go-go in DC, just look up Chuck Brown, and Two Live Crew came. They brought the women and all that, and they were doing all types of raunchy things. And it's in go-go in a totally different direction. I had like Chuck. I started not liking go-go because the stuff that people were telling me was happening, right? Like dudes was like, yeah, man, we did. The girls were doing this and that. And I was like, what the? Yeah, I was. First of all, I was shocked. And what happened is people do start taking their video camera and videoing the go-go's because of the stuff that women were doing. So the splash parties they had, right? They would have people would have parties and rent out pools, right? And the go-go band would play, and then people, the girls was in their swimsuits or whatever. And sometimes they would be in the water dancing, sometimes they'd be on the side of the pool dancing. And then they started bringing girls up on stage, and all of a sudden, women started taking their clothes off. All that started after that was not a part of go-go before that. So I'm just showing you how easy it is to corrupt a subculture with just one negative influence. Luke change go-go for the next, I don't know, at least the next 5 years, maybe the next 10 years, because I can't remember the year he came. He might have came up here in like 89, 90, 91. So yeah, like the next 10 years. Really. In fact, Luke is probably the reason why, because of that. Because what happened is, some type of way the story went national because one of the splash parties, the police was there, and the police was standing there. He was looking, enjoying the show instead of doing something about it, because I mean, you're still in a public place. You can't run around naked or whatever. You know, I think that's illegal, but either way, they caught the police on camera enjoying the show, enjoying the women. And I think even Oprah covered it. So, but it went national news, and then after that, that was the decline of go-go. So I only bring that story up to show how one negative influence can completely derail and destroy whatever it is that you're trying to do. And so in that same way, Rick Rubin was kind of that negative influence, because he opened the door for more infiltration by hacks, and they took over the business aspect of it. And once people take over the money, then they control the product, plain and simple. And then that just made them push and popularize all the drug dealing, all the drug selling, all the B's and H's, and all, and on and on and on ad nauseum for 3 decades. And that, in a nutshell, even though I've been talking for 2 hours, that in a nutshell is how hip hop destroyed Black culture. Because we young people either don't know or forget or have forgotten, there was Black culture before hip hop. Hip hop was just the latest iteration of youth culture, right? And the latest iteration of a musical genre. That's it, and that's all. Blues, jazz, bebop, soul, R&B, hip hop. What's the next phase? That's the question. People saying they tired of it. Cool. Let's come up with something creative. Let's get back to live instrumentation. You can have the live instrumentation and still have the spoken word aspect of it. That's in essence what go-go is. It's just mostly percussion based, right? What's the next step? What's the next phase? What's the next thing? We need something new, fresh, and being completely honest, once we make it hot, because if Black people do it, we're gonna make it hot. Let's just be realistic. We gotta gatekeep the money. Forget gatekeeping everything else. Gatekeep the money. At one time, there's another reason I ain't like Luke, because at one time he had his own distribution. He sold his distribution. He could have distributed, even if you're gonna make money off of what you're doing, you could distribute it more positive people so they can make money. And I think, weirdly enough, Luke ended up signing, if I'm not mistaken, Luke signed Professor Griff to a deal. Professor Griff wasn't even no rapper. He had to get some other dudes to rap with him. So I guess that was his way of trying to make up for what he did or whatever. But I just say this for the young generation or a future generation or whatever, whoever. Y'all come up with something new and creative. Keep that money, man. Keep that money amongst yourself. Keep that money amongst Black people. Because if not, whatever you come up with creatively is going to get exploited. And you're going to look up, other people are going to be millionaires and billionaires, and you'll be lucky to be a millionaire. I mean, who was it? Snoop Dogg, he complaining about streaming right now. Well, last time I saw him, I guess the hats would give him some money so he'd shut up. Brother Crow said, yes, Luke did sign Professor Griff on his label. Thank you, brother. I just want to make sure I wasn't tripping. But we talk about gatekeeping and everything else. People like, oh, we need to gatekeep the culture. We need to gatekeep this. We need to gatekeep our money. Like, when we come up with something creative, we need to gatekeep the cashola, the dineros, the shekels. You know what I'm saying? Talking about gatekeeping everything else. We ain't talking about gatekeeping the money. And to me, because now you don't need a full studio to make an album. You know, the technology allows you to produce music independent of labels and to promote your stuff independent of labels via social media. Even if people want to do rap, still rap or whatever, and want to do hip hop, realistically, it should just be collectives doing their own thing and bypassing the labels and finding a way to get their music straight to the people via your websites or whatever and your social media. Like, and I'm not saying nobody's doing it, but I'm saying, what better time than now to have a reset on the whole thing? What better time than now to change the whole paradigm? What better time than now to change the whole messaging? What better time than now to learn from the mistakes of the past? To learn, I don't know. This is one thing. This one thing that hurt me. Tupac gets murdered. Biggie gets murdered. And instead of, because we were definitely shocked. I was there. I was young. Like, I remember waking up and the first thing on the news was Biggie being killed. I was like, what? Instead of the next generation learning from that and being like, yeah, I'm not trying to do that. That's stupid. The murder of rappers, it was a wild one. It seemed like it was people I hadn't even never heard of. I remember watching YouTube videos. People that they like, this person's a rapper. I'm like, local dudes getting gunned down. And then they had music. I talked about this before, and I'm wrapping up because it's time for me to roll. I'm wrapping up. But people disrespecting, people get killed, and then the young people go to their grave, disrespecting their grave, and all this old wild stuff. Our self-hatred became blatantly injected into the music, and a really evil spirit was injected into the music a few years ago. And I'm just saying, it's time to take all of that, throw it in the dustbin of history, and reset and come up with something different. And even if it's going to be sound similar to what's going on, it's got to have a different aesthetic. It's got to have a different spirit. This ain't it. There's Megan Thee Stallion, Nicki Minaj, sisters doing it. What's that chick? The Puerto Rican chick or whatever she is. I know what I'm talking about. Can't think of her name. Hey man, get all of that out of here. I hate to say it, but the original spirit of hip hop, and maybe the original spirit was always bad because of Bang Booty. That's a thing. That's a possibility. But the original spirit of especially from the message on, with people telling our story and telling the truth, and then Rakim and people like that trying to have something positive. Poor Righteous Teachers, X-Clan, Brand Nubian. We need some of that back. Public Enemy, of course. Stetsasonic. We need some of that back. Whether it's a new art form or whatever. Because what's going on now, and what we got going on now, and what our young people are listening to, and what our young people are doing, that stuff is not This it's done, man. It's done. It's dead, Jim. It's dead. So, again, I'm your host, DC Radical One. This is The Center. We will be on tomorrow, myself and Sister Najee, for SBL Talk. I thank everybody for listening. Again, follow me on Instagram at DC.radical1, and Twitter with DC Radical _ONE, on OTW2, which is a black-owned platform at DC Radical 1. You can donate via Cash App, $ DC Radical 1, or via Zelle, DC.radical_1 at protonmail.com, or email me if you have a show idea, something you think I should talk about, or you would like to purchase a lost tape. Email me at DC.radical_1 at protonmail.com. And yeah, Brother Crow, I talked about Paris. I did not talk about Lynch Mob. So tomorrow's show will be on same time, 6 o'clock. We'll be doing taboo topics in the Black community, part 2. And if you got anything that you would like to interject with that, come through tomorrow and tell us what we can't talk about. So that, like I said, that's part 2. You can go to the page and find part 1, which was done a week ago. So with that, brothers and sisters, thank you all for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if this is your first time here. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you will not be a stranger, but will come back with other, and come back and listen to our other shows, and bring your knowledge and information and perspective to the center or to SBO Talk. So with that, I say a BB for ODA and straight black pride.
Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also follow us on our other social media platforms. On Instagram, we're at DC.radical1. On Twitter, we're at DC_radical_ONE. And the Cash App is $ DC Radical 1. Again, thank you for subscribing. A BB for ODA and straight black pride.